Good. There we go. Okay. This will be probably a few of misty eyed moments for me as we go through this. I'm going to try to keep the hysterical sobbing to a minimum. So hopefully we'll not engage in that level of release. Although it's pretty amazing to have so many of you joining me and sharing this experience with Kevin and me as well. So I am going to turn things over to Kevin, but first I think it was the early days of Twitter before Twitter became worth 40 some $1 million and Elon Musk got in charge. It was way before then that I first connected with Kevin Monroe. And we were both doing leadership, consulting, coaching types of things and just exchanged resources and kind of got to know each other through social media, through Twitter, and what he was doing and what I was doing, and certainly some shared passions and purpose there. And then I kind of went away. I was off the grid for a good number of years. And then it was in my early days of sobriety that I reconnected with Kevin, and that was through a gratitude encounter. So when I was trying to think about ways to mark this milestone, gratitude being one of my values and also being a recurring connection to Kevin and not just my sobriety journey, but my leadership journey, I knew that I wanted it to be grounded in gratitude. And there was only one person I could think of to lead this type of shared experience. And that is my very good friend, my own personal gratitude guide, Kevin Monroe. Kevin,
Wow.
thank you, my friend, for being here, for
Well,
many, many years for being here.
yeah, thank you, Angie. I don't think you actually said this, but I think this goes back. We were trying to calculate this last year. I think it's like 17 years
I think
Angie
so.
and I have known one another. And yeah, and it's a joy when Angie asked would I do this, it was an immediate yes, right? It's just an immediate yes. And so I use a tool called Mentimeter. I'll drop it in the chat if you've not seen that link yet. But what we want to be here today, what brings us here today, is to celebrate 1,000 days of gratitude. 1,000 days of gratitude. This celebration, that's what brings us here today. You'll hear more about that from Angie in a few moments, but I'm just excited to be a part of this. So let me add my welcome to the one Angie's already provided, and welcome you for joining us. Say thank you for carving out part of your Friday to be here to celebrate these 1,000 days of gratitude. And we have this on the screen. What song title? And it's in the chat. Or let me, if you've just joined, you can also grab the QR code if you want to join by a digital device, your phone or tablet or something to play along. But let's see, what song title best describes your current relationship to gratitude? Wow.
Good, good. Okay,
Okay,
there.
okay. Now
Yep.
I'm really excited. Angie, what just excited me is that somebody just landed on the left side of the continuum.
Yeah.
Somebody is here that's saying, "Hey, we've only just begun." I'm so glad that you are here with us at this early part of your gratitude journey. And I always love it when people say we're strangers in the night. I just came because I knew Angie. Angie, let me tell you the number one reason people show up at any meeting. There's number one reason. Somebody invited them, right? Somebody said, would you come? Hey, would you join me in this? And so some people don't really know what it's about. They didn't know it was about gratitude, but somebody said, hey, will you come? So they come. And then the Angie, the one that always intrigues me is when somebody says, well, gratitude's somebody I used to know,
Hmm.
right? And I'm always intrigued. I wonder what happened. What was the hiccup in that relationship? But look here, over half of you say, I'm a believer. And you also say, and this was my vote, don't stop believing. I don't want to stop believing now, or I need you now. That's where we're at as a group. So let me, and I want to, this, I put this slide in here primarily to remind me to go up and turn on my do not disturb. And I invite you to do the same. What if you gave yourself the gift of this time, a gift of undivided attention, a gift of not being distracted, not hearing dings and pings and rings, that's something vying for our attention, which happens to all of us all day, every day. So we invite you to pause. And pausing is like the essential skill to growing gratitude. Pausing. And for those, like somebody said, we've only just begun. Here is what's become my favorite definition of gratitude. Before Patty shared hers with me, my friend Patty Blackstaff, that's been on this gratitude journey with me for 2.5 years, she created a journal. And in her journal, this is the definition she uses. Gratitude is appreciation for all that we have, all that we are, and thankfulness for our ability to show love and kindness to others. Now, I can tell you, for years, I thought gratitude was just being thankful for stuff, right? The blessings of life or the good things in life. But what if we expand that definition? Right, Angie? I know you and I've talked about this. This definition, gratitude, also be grateful for who I am, who you are. And that includes our idiosyncrasies, which all of you have. And I have plenty. So this is the definition of gratitude that I invite you to consider. And let me just map out the journey. We're going to hear from Angie in just a couple of moments. And then we're going to have this introductory conversation. And then we're going to make 3 stops on this gratitude journey. And we're going to invite you to reflect on some of the things Angie shares about this 1,000 days of celebration journey she's had. And maybe it's part of your journey too. And then we're going to invite you to reflect, and we're going to invite you into small group conversations around a couple of these topics. But let's start. I hope Lao Tzu appreciates the paraphrase here. The journey of 1,000 days. I believe it was originally 1,000 miles. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. But the journey of 1,000 days began with one single step. And Angie, I invite you to share some of the insights and reflections of your 1,000 days of gratitude, which is also 1,000 days of
sobriety. And for me, thank you. For me, the journey has been really finding who I am. And when I was looking at the calendar around, what days would I reach milestones on my own journey, I noticed that actually tomorrow is the 1,000th day, but I'm bookending it because this weekend is the University of Iowa's homecoming. And I live in Iowa City, Iowa. As many of you know, my son is an Iowa Hawkeye football player. So I knew that tomorrow would be a significant soon to be victory for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but I was celebrating my own victory. And so I bookended tomorrow with doing this gratitude encounter with Kevin today. And on Sunday, I'm doing an in-person soberversary party here in Iowa City. And what was so remarkable about my 1,000 days hitting on Iowa homecoming is that through alcohol freedom, I have been able to come home to myself. And the coincidence, the irony, the magic of that timing is definitely deep seated in terms of how much I continue to learn and grow not just in my sober journey, but in my leadership journey, in my entrepreneurial journey, in my life journey. What's powerful about gratitude is it's universal. It doesn't matter what adversity we're facing, it doesn't matter what state, country, continent we're from. It doesn't matter what industry we're in. It doesn't matter what our personal or professional titles might be. What's important is that we believe in gratitude for ourselves. And we come home to gratitude every single moment that we have the choice to feel grateful, to feel abundant, and to feel blessed for the journeys that we are on. When I talked to Kevin and asked him to be part of this experience with me today, I told him very specifically that I did not want the message to be about me. I wanted the message to be about gratitude. And gratitude has led me back to me. And it's wrapping all of this up in a big, beautiful gift of gratitude that Kevin helps us share together this morning.
Wow. Can we just take a moment and just celebrate this? However you want to celebrate this. This
Thank you.
is amazing. This is
Thank you.
amazing. So I'm going to ask John Horsley, what excites you about this? John just met Angie this week.
Yeah, we just connected on LinkedIn this week with a random message. I am excited. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I have worked in multiple areas of advancing recovery, treating people with substance use disorder, working in grassroots communication. I've been all over the board. In fact, that's how I met Kevin. I was at a conference where we were doing really some grassroots work with some federal funding to expand our reach and outreach to those in recovery. So this is my heart. And when Kevin told me about you, Angie, I'm like, I'm there. What do I need to move around to get there? So congratulations. That's
Thank
just such
you.
an awesome accomplishment.
So grateful for you to be here. Thanks, John. We'll have many more conversations, I'm certain.
Yes. Yes.
So as Angie said, she didn't want this to be about her. She wanted this to be about gratitude. And I love the things you've said, Angie, about coming home to you, discovering your authentic self, and discovering that there's something awesome about your authentic self. And that applies to all of us here. And Angie and I've talked about this, right? So she's celebrating 1,000 days tomorrow. And whether you know this or not, everyone here, we have 1,000-day milestone that we are about to celebrate. Well, commemorate together. Some people are celebrating, some people aren't. But today is 961 of our 1,000-day journey. Do you know what journey I'm talking about? Any guesses? It was 961 days ago today that the World Health Organization declared the global coronavirus pandemic. I always love seeing faces, how people respond. Folks, I'm a proud American, right? Apologies to Linda, who's a Canadian. Maybe there are some people from other parts of the world, but we're smart people. I thought we'd have this sucker whipped in 90 days, 100 days at the outset. If you'd have asked me 3 years ago, could this change the world the way I wouldn't have believed you. And our world has changed. There are words, there are all kinds of words we didn't use before that we use now. Social distancing. Nobody had ever talked about the Great Resignation. Nobody had ever talked about quiet quitting. I mean, all of these things are happening, and people trace them to the roots of this 961-day journey. So when Angie said, that was a point that's very clear to Angie, that her journey started very close to the onset of coronavirus and the way the world has changed. So every one of us here, folks, we're closing in on 1,000-day milestone. And one of the things I want to point out, and Angie, you can weigh in on this personally to the degree you want, but hope fades in crisis.
Right, right. And for me, my alcohol use disorder, it was a struggle for 10 years. And I would find a glimmer of hope. I would enter treatment, whether officially or informally. I would try, and I would continue to find myself in crisis. So as those attempts became unsuccessful, I continued to have crisis after crisis, and I reached a place where I did not feel any hope whatsoever.
And I'm sorry that I've known hopeless moments in life. And it's really difficult to feel hopeless and to have no hope. So I'd love to ask this. I've asked this question. I started asking this question January 2021. If you could go to Menti right now, and if you've just joined, I'll drop the link in the chat again if you've just joined. But what's your level of hope? And this is a 1 to 10 scale. And we asked for the last 7 days, what level of hope have you felt? And right now in this moment, what's the level of hope you're feeling now? And so I'm waiting for a few more people to vote. Yep, here it comes. Thanks for engaging. This is such a interesting thing when we get to see this. Woo! And Angie, I'll wave a sign of relief, and I'll share a story. And Angie was in this meeting. We had a gathering a week ago. Yesterday was World Values Day, and my friend Jenny Hass and I co-hosted a gratitude kindness encounter. And in that moment, we asked this question, and it was the third time in 22 months, 20 months of asking this, that the in the moment number was lower than the 7-day average. And one of the things that I'm just curious about that, right? But one of the things that stirs me, because we've come together for a really positive event now. So that's one of the things that lifts us in this moment, right? And that's one of the things I'm looking for. And if in the moment hope is lower than it's been over the week, wow, some people are really struggling in this moment. Maybe they just got some bad news, right? Maybe all kinds of things can happen. But if we hover over here, which I try to remember to always do, I look and I see somebody has been running low on hope this week, right? Somebody said over the last 7 days. So I'm so glad you're here now. And then in this moment, look at this. Wow. And still one person running empty. So it's our hope that something stirs in you. And I'll just say this, and I know this is true for Angie. If at the end of this hour, you're still feeling that way, reach out to one of us.
Yes, please.
Right, Angie?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is real life, right? This is life gets lifey, as I have heard people say over the past few weeks, especially, and that happens. So being hopeful is really a moment to moment reaction, response, emotion.
Yeah.
All of the things that we need to continue to practice these things, like for me, gratitude, connection, community, to keep us hopeful.
Yeah. So the good news is hope grows in gratitude. Hope grows in, folks, I didn't know this three and a half years ago. I didn't. I discovered this on my own journey, and hope grows in gratitude. And it's so important that we, like Angie, keep leaning into gratitude because it fuels our hope. And gratitude, something else I didn't know 3 years ago, gratitude's the gateway to abundance. When we keep leaning into gratitude, it opens the door to more of the good things in life. And Angie, I added this one today, and let me share. I host a lot of gratitude events. We'll tell you about one of those at the end if you're interested. But this photo that's on the screen, one morning, a lady, Nana Mulandinka, who grew up in Africa, lives in the UK. She shared this. This was a photo that she took on her morning walk. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's such an amazing photo. Would you share that with me? Would you allow me to share that? You know? And then she saw me using it on this slide because this is just so beautiful. I love that the field that's overgrown. I love the flowers that are right there in the front of the field blooming. I love the sun that's coming up on a cloudy day. I love that this is an antique gate and that the gate was open, not closed, right? There's just so much that this picture speaks to me about the abundance. And I added this one just for you, Angie. Gratitude is the pathway to a better, brighter future.
Absolutely.
And Angie, you know, well, and then the gratitude experience is better than gratitude explained. So we're not here to talk a lot about gratitude, but we want to talk about celebrating a comeback from a setback. And Angie, as you've shared your story, share this insight that you've gained, would you please?
Well, and my gratitude practice started like most gratitude practices, at least that I've heard people share, started very simply. I started writing down 3 good things that happened. So every night before I went to bed, I kept a notebook right by my bed, and I write down 3 good things. Sometimes it was really, really hard. Of course, the number one good thing was that I stayed sober. So that was on top of the list. But then it was everything like I walked outside for 15 minutes. I made chicken for supper. So it was being intentional about the little things. Of course, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my parents, for my children, for my sister. All of those things I'm grateful for, but I wanted it to be more mindful. And as that continued to grow, it became so much easier to have a list. It was hard to limit to my 3. I could have written journals filled with good things that happened. And I think just leaning into the power of finding what was good, even when things didn't feel like there was a lot that was good, is what kind of promoted or prompted me to turn some of the lessons from being setbacks into comebacks. And as my friends and family know, this has not been a journey of rainbows and unicorns and sunshine. And in some of those not so positive experiences, I still found 3 good things. And just as we know, life gets lifey. It's going to always be that way. And these little mini setbacks, whatever they look like, can be springboards to bouncing back better and allowing that to be a comeback.
Wow. Gosh, Angie, there's so much that you said there that is so rich. One of those, two things I want to unpack. One, I love that you started expressing gratitude for all kinds of things, little things, big things. You know, I meet people and it seems that some people have a really mistaken notion that gratitude is a very limited quantity. So I must save my gratitude for the really big stuff in life, right? That if I waste gratitude on little things, I won't have gratitude left for the big things. And that's just not true. Oh my gosh, Portia Watkins has just joined the room. So things are about to get fun. No, Portia is someone else whose life has been radically transformed by the power of gratitude. So gratitude is a renewable resource. The more we share it, the more we have. So don't think, oh, I need to, and this idea that you can journal. I journal every day. I've been doing it for years now, gratitude journaling. Somebody encouraged me to start. I started. And But to think that you have to look real hard to find something, you're making it too hard, right? The air I breathe, wow. And I took a survey yesterday, and there was a question I hadn't thought of. What's the quality of air where you're at? Like, wow, we have good, clean air. Now, I'm sure there's some contaminants in it because I live outside of a city, but there's not ash in the air every day. We're not having to filter everything. Be grateful for air. Be grateful for the technology. Hey, I'm telling you, if you're able to be on this call right now, you are in the top 25% wealthiest people on the planet. If you're able to be on this call in this moment, you have free time to be here. You have access to the internet. You have access to a computer device of some sort, right? All kinds of things. So you don't have to save up your gratitude. Let's just give it freely and find that it grows and it grows and it grows. And the more we share, the more we have. So Angie asks something. So round one of what we want to invite you into is thinking about the comeback challenge. Because I know something about every one of you here, whether I know you or not. And I see several people here that I do know. I know you've had setbacks. I know that some of you have had comebacks. We've all had comebacks. And I know that some of you are in the middle of a comeback right now from something, right? I mean, the setback is a real-time setback. So let's talk about expressing gratitude for a challenge that you've navigated, and we can expand it to the past 1,000 days, right? It's 1,000, a challenge you've navigated in that time period, or a challenge you're navigating right now, real time. So we'll pause a moment and let something come to mind. And this is one of those, we're going to invite you into a breakout room to talk about this with someone else, right? So what is a challenge that you've got that you'd be willing to talk about, or a comeback you've navigated or navigating? We're going to take about 7 minutes. We're going to go into groups of 3 or 4 people. We're going to invite everyone to share. There could be somebody, I hosted one of these yesterday, and somebody was at work, couldn't talk, but they could listen in. So if you're in an environment where you can't talk, that's okay. But we want to invite everyone to share. And if people are reluctant to share, well, invite the person with the shortest hair to share first. So let me drop the prompt into the chat. The prompt into the chat that we're inviting you to talk about now is expressing gratitude for a challenge you've navigated recently or are navigating now. I'm going to stop the share, and we're going to go to Angie, do you have breakout rooms?
Let's see. We should. And I do see that there are some individuals who aren't able to talk for whatever reason, and that is totally okay. I'm looking for my breakout room.
Yeah, I don't see let's see.
Well, Kevin, we might just need to do a group share.
All right. Well, that's fine too. So let me invite you to pause a moment. And if you're at a place to drop something in the chat, drop something in the chat about your comeback. What's this comeback that you have navigated, or that you're navigating now? And who has one that you're willing to share and just kind of talk about, briefly with all of us? And I'm wondering if my friend John would volunteer, because I know of a comeback. I know of a setback and a comeback because we've talked about it.
Yeah. Thank you for volunteering me. So I was in a previous position in an executive level for about 11 years. And my primary responsibility was to, of course, maintain operations, which is super boring, but to also advance our mission. So we were able to develop some really wonderful programs using peer supports and developed cafes and all sorts of great stuff. And it was just this great 11 years. And then things began to shift. And I began to get exhausted with how things were shifting. And I was just desperately trying to figure out, how do I hang on? But it was clear that the universe was telling me it's time to go do something different. And around that time, Kevin and I had reconnected, which was just, one morning I woke up and he gave me this text message, and I'm like, uh-oh, it was like a total God thing. And so then I had to start the process of, oh, wow, I'm leaving something that I've loved, I've put my heart and soul in, and what's next? Like, I'm not a dude that's just going to go to a job. And so some opportunities opened up, and I began to pursue those. And then I had to go through the grief of leaving behind things. And then, wow, what's next for me? So my wife and I were at this Elton John concert in Chicago in August, and he's not normally my jam, but I'm not hating on Elton John. So, my wife loves him. We'll go. The deal was we do Elton John and Post Malone, so she followed through. We went to this concert, and he started singing "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and I was like, "Wow!" That just hit me in the feels in a weird way, and that was it. It was like this, just experiencing this gratitude for that 11 years and what we built and all the people that'll help, and what's sustainable and what will continue on well past me and probably go to new levels with new leadership. And then what's next for me, and the opportunities presented, and what did the next 11 years like, and just being grateful for the past and also the possibility of the future. And so this whole gratitude thing has got me through some very, very tough transitions and difficulty. I have friends who are like attorneys and accountants, and their view of jobs. This is my experience with my friends who are in those kind of roles. So I'm not hating on anybody who's in those, but their experience is more like jobs are a transaction. So like they were like, John, I don't get it. It's a transaction. But in my line of work, it's really heart and transaction. And sometimes heart trumps transaction. So it's really been an emotional, difficult time for me. And I'm so grateful for my supportive family, my friends, this process of gratitude, reconnecting with Kevin, doing some of these encounters. It's really just got me through. So I'm grateful for being grateful.
Wow. And I see, thank you, John. Thanks for sharing that. Someone posted, Mary Jo posted that her husband's facing a health issue. And I'm grateful for the strength of my alcohol-free life to feel resilient and strong to offer him the support he needs. Wow. Right. And so a lot of us have family members that are dealing with health issues, some very serious health issues. I have a friend, she'd probably be with us today, but and some of you know her, Kim Schweitzer. She got a call Wednesday night that her father was entering hospice. She was flying from London back to the States. She made it to Charlotte and got word that her father had passed before she could get home to Florida to be there with him. Right. So, but still leaning into gratitude in those times. And then I see a question. How do you deal with the financial uncertainty? So let me just, a show of hands. Is anybody else dealing with financial uncertainty right now? Right. We all are. There's just financial uncertainty in today's world. And, that thought gratitude's the gateway to abundance. Being grateful for what we have, even the simple things we have, right? And leaning more into gratitude. Angie, you got something to add
Well,
on
a
this?
couple of things that, as I'm just reading the chat here. I love what Jane Anderson just recently shared. Being grateful might not change my circumstances, but it changes me, and that means everything. Jane, I'm not sure if you're in a situation where you can talk more about that. I invite you to do so if you're comfortable doing that, but that just so well captures what gratitude is like. And I think too often we feel that, well, I'm grateful, so things should change, right? Let's be real. It takes action, it takes our own behaviors. I couldn't just wake up and write three good things and not change my behaviors, right? It doesn't happen that way. But being grateful for the opportunity that I was given to make a choice to change my behavior did change everything. And I just really, really appreciate the way that Jane shared that so powerfully.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Jane. And we're coming back to that in a few moments with round 3. Wow, beautiful. And then Jamie just shared, I chose a sober life for myself and my 2 young girls. 4 days later, suffered a triathlon season-ending injury. I've had a community I can reach out to on hard days. I've been able to be real with people, and for the first time in 16 years, I'm able to feel everything this journey has brought and continues to bring. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing. Wow. So I'm watching our time. Before time gets away, we want to let's continue this.
Yep.
Round two. We invite you to think of who is or has been a lifesaver for you in your journey, this comeback that you're navigating. And Angie, I've never heard that saying. I will be repeating it. Life gets lifey. Right? Life just has a way of throwing things that we didn't see coming. Maybe we should have, but we didn't see coming. We weren't expecting. So who is someone that is or has been a lifesaver to you? Get that person in mind now. Think about that. Pause to think about that person. Get somebody in mind, at least one specific person in mind, and why you're grateful for them. And then some of you, you know what's coming. We're going to pause right now and invite you to send them a message. And I saw this big smile just come across John's face, Wendy's face, Linda's face. Folks, this is one of my favorite things to invite people to do. Let's every one of us take 90 seconds now and send that person a message, however you send them a message, and tell them thanks.
Kevin, I have to say this. I love, like John shared, I love this part of the encounters, but it also causes me to pause and think, why don't I do this more often? Right? It's taken us, what, a minute, 2 minutes? It takes literally 10 seconds to send a note to someone that says, I'm grateful for you. Thank you. You add richness, you add joy. I'm glad to be on this journey with you. And like Kevin and I talk about this, we also need reminders to express and experience gratitude. And too many times I let those moments pass and think, oh, they know how much I appreciate them. They know I'm grateful for them. Well, you know what? Even if they know it, they would love to hear it.
Yeah.
We would love to hear it.
Oh, Ann Wright, I love, one of her personal goals is to thank 3 people a day. Folks, no matter how many times you do this, there's just something powerful in the response. You made my day, right? This was just such a bright spot in my day, whatever it is. So we'll come back to that in a few moments. So round 3 of this, and Anne was Jane. No, wait a minute, I'm trying to think I'm trying to scroll back up through. Jane. Yeah, Jane talked about this gratitude for the shift. Gratitude for the shift. So perspective. I think gratitude is our most powerful perspective shaping tool. Anais Nin said, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. All of us have some kind of filter through which we process the events of life. Wayne Dyer, and somebody alluded to this earlier, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at actually begin to change because you see them differently. So gratitude is this perspective shaping tool. Weigh in on that for us, Angie. What do you want to say about?
It just changed my perspective many times. So instead of feeling sorry for myself, instead of drowning in helplessness, instead of listing all the myriad past choices and behaviors and problems that I caused in my life and the lives of people I loved, it was, but I'm here now. So it's taking that pause. I'm here now, and I have a choice to be grateful for where I am today and use that to catapult me forward. And that's a deliberate choice, a deliberate practice multiple times a day in some situations.
So in one of the groups that I convene and host, we have a gratitude intention. And part of that intention is gratitude is a choice. It's my choice. And folks, there are days that I have to make that choice dozens or hundreds of times, right? Some days it's not, I make it in the morning. I start with that journal. That's setting an intention. But sometimes life happens, life gets lifey, and then we have to reset and we keep leaning back. So I invite you to recall a time when gratitude helped you shift your perspective. And I know there are times that we shift our perspective about someone or about something. And one way we do this is just beginning to think about the grateful thoughts for that person or that situation. I had a friend that ran a company, and they had their head accountant, or I don't think it was a CFO, but I think it was their chief financial accounting person, quit 2 weeks before year end, which is a really bad time to lose the finance person in your organization. And her first response was to be furious. How could you quit now? How could you leave now? And if she had pursued that path, she would have burned the relationship with this person. And the person may have been very willing to burn the relationship. Instead, Carrie started thinking of something every day that she was grateful for with this person. The person had been with them for 8 or 10 years, right? And over that 8 or 10 years had done a lot of great things for the organization. She even started writing her notes. She went out and bought her 2 gifts, that would have meaning for her and gave these gifts. And it helped her shift her perspective about this person. And it helped salvage a relationship that probably would have gone south otherwise. So what's a time when you've shifted something? Or do you have a shift you want to make now? And, there's this phrase I learned, pre-gratitude. We can express gratitude in advance of something actually happening. You can begin to practice gratitude now to help a shift happen. So maybe there's a shift you want to celebrate. We've started thinking about the holidays coming up, right? I mean, we're just a few weeks away from Thanksgiving here in the States. Some of us might have the opportunity to be around somebody that you typically find annoying. What if you started thinking about grateful thoughts about that person that normally rubs you the wrong way? How might your gratitude for that person fuel a shift in your experience in that relationship or your experience in that family gathering?
And how perfect that Peggy must have been typing this as you were talking. Peggy shared, I go to many meetings and was starting to get annoyed with people who seem to share the same things over and over. I am a social work instructor. That should not bother me. My shift was believing that people who share over and over get something out of that. They benefit from it. It's important to them. And then showing up is important.
Wow.
Peggy, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, that's definitely a deliberate shift. That gratitude.
And Wendy, I'm with you. I think of, I used to wear tinted lenses, right? My lenses may have a little, but they're not, and I saw everything I saw differently when I looked through those lenses. Same thing. What if we look at life? We look at people through the lens of gratitude. It changes what we see, which is why I use that ball image. What if we shift something? So we invite you to shift something now or express gratitude for something. And let me just ask this. We're coming in on the last 9 minutes of our time together, and we will conclude right at the top of the hour. What word or phrase best describes your experience of our time together today? What word or phrase? And as people are typing this, Angie, what do you want to reflect on this experience today?
Well, what I want to reflect is really a quick note from what we were just talking about. My son Jeremy, who is the Iowa Hawkeye football player, he is a redshirt freshman. And he is a redshirt freshman because he came in under a COVID year. And at the beginning of last year's season, he experienced a season-ending injury in his foot that required surgery. On the day that he received the diagnosis that he would not be cleared to play medically, I picked him up and asked him to write down 3 things he was grateful for. He reluctantly did that, and I still have that piece of paper. I've taken screenshots of it and sent it to him. So it is not only essential in what we live and what we believe, but in also how we share it and exemplify it with others. And for me, just knowing that, my gosh, there's been many times over these past 1,000 days that I have felt alone. I live on my own. I have my dog and I have my family nearby, but there's certain things I have to choose to do on my own, and sobriety is one of them. But what people like you constantly remind me is that even though I'm alone, I'm never lonely. I'm never truly on my own. And for that affirmation, I am profoundly grateful.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And to remember that, right? And I'll tie back, Angie. This is one of the reasons why you never know the impact that sending a message to someone and saying, I'm grateful for you. I'm thankful for you. I appreciate you now, right? When somebody comes to your heart or mind, there's a reason for that. And they may be in one of those low moments. It was a year ago, February, I was doing a gratitude encounter for a church, Saddleback Church in California. And one of the people on the team was in charge of volunteers. And when we did this reach out to thank someone, she thought of one of their lead volunteers, and she sent a message to that volunteer telling her how grateful she was for her, how appreciative she was, her faithfulness. And this was the response she got. Wow, how did you know that in this very moment, I was wondering, do I matter? Do I make a difference? Right? I love that. I love that. Mary, look at there. I'm so thankful for you. So, we created these cards earlier this year. I'm grateful for you. Just a simple card. And the card has a blank back for you to write something on the back and give to someone. And I was with a friend, Chris, and he gave me one of my own cards back to me on Wednesday at lunch of this week. And I'll keep this, right? These are things we keep. We linger into these things. So let me share this. And Anne, do you have your hand raised to say something? Awesome.
I do. I want to echo what you just said, Kevin, about reaching out to people. I want to invite, challenge, encourage, whatever word works, inspire people. If somebody is on your mind or in your heart, I really want to invite you to reach out to them, because that has happened to me. Like just what you said, I've thought about somebody and I have zero clue why. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll send them a quick text, or I'll drop them a card or whatever. And it is they'll reach back out and say, how did you know I needed to hear that today? Or your card came on the exact day that I was struggling with something. I can't tell you. And when I have ignored that, I have been sorry I've ignored it. So I don't ignore it anymore.
So Anne, I'll share one real quick here. I did a project. A friend of mine, Brad Aronson, wrote this book, Humankind. It is an amazing book. Brad asked me, could I come up with a list of people that I would love for him to send the book to? And I could put a note in it. And we did this project. And it took 6-7 weeks before this whole thing unfolded. One of the guys was in the UK that we sent this to. And I get a post from him, and he posted publicly on LinkedIn about this. And he goes, oh my gosh, today was one of the worst days of my life in years. And I come home and there's a package from a guy in the US. And I open the package and there's a note. And it brought me to my knees into tears. And I'm like, oh my, we could not have orchestrated that, Anne, right? I mean, there were delays, and then there were delays in the postal because of COVID and all of this stuff. And how is it that a book we start 8 weeks earlier trying to get a process of sending arrives at the moment Gethin was having his worst day in years?
Right.
You can't explain it. You can't explain it, but you celebrate it every time it happens. So look at these words: acceptance, curious, connection, energize, perspective, hopeful, uplifting, heart expanding, grateful for the time, comfort, celebration, community, inspired. Wow. So I want to extend let's come back and let's revisit hope. Where are you at on hope now? Where are you at on hope now? And I'll tell you, I'm going to drop an invitation in here. I'll show it on the screen in a moment. But we do a thing every once in a while, and we just happen to have one starting Tuesday because it's November 1st. We're doing 30 days in the power of gratitude. It is a app assisted program. So you can join anytime, day or night, any time zone of the world, because we'll have people from all over the world joining. I've dropped a link in there. Well, I'll tell you about that in a moment. Let's see what's happening with, and I didn't vote yet. Let me vote. See if I can get here and join in the voting.
Wow. Wow. And our scores were fairly on the plus side when we started.
7.8.
But
7.8 was in the moment. But even at that, Angie, this group jumped up over a whole point.
Yeah.
By just being in this atmosphere of gratitude. So 2 next step possibilities. I host a gratitude encounter similar to this the first Tuesday of every month, which means one of those is happening this coming Tuesday. I'll send me a message, or if you're on LinkedIn, you can find it there. And then this 30 days in the power of, and the gratitude encounters are always freebies. Those are always free gifts. This 30 days in the power of gratitude that we host, it is a fee-based program. The fee is $197. This morning, I was like, no, we got to do something for the people that are here today. If you want to join, use 1,000 days as your code and join for half off, which would be $98.50. And wow, I'm thrilled that you joined us today.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that you joined us today. Angie, you get to close us out.
I think there's only 2 words, actually 4 words that I can say that accurately sum up this experience. And those 4 words are, I'm grateful for you.
I kind of thought that might be.
We didn't even plan it that way. What can we say? It truly, this has, thank you for being here and joining me and allowing this experience to celebrate everything good about coming home. I'm grateful for you. Kevin, thank you. Thank you to
Angie,
my friends.
I'm pretty sure it's unanimous here. We're grateful for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're grateful for you. And we're excited to share this 1,000 days of gratitude and sobriety. So have a most amazing weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, my friends.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Love to
Bye,
all.
Angie.
Thank you.